Right now, you sit at the top of everything. Nothing in the woods is hunting you. You walk into a forest and the forest goes quiet and gets out of your way. But that is brand new. For almost the entire human story, you were not the hunter at the top. You were the meal. So here is the uncomfortable question. If something out there used to eat us without thinking twice, what exactly happened to flip that so completely that today the deadliest animals on the planet run from the sound of your voice? By the end of this, you'll know the exact moment we stopped being food and became the thing everything else is afraid of. And once you see how recent and how strange that switch is, you can't look at a nervous deer the same way again. I'm Nerlin, and I went down this rabbit hole for an entire weekend, expecting a simple story about cavemen with spears, and came out genuinely unsettled by how low on the menu we used to be. So let's build it from the beginning. And the beginning is not heroic. The beginning is breakfast, and we're what's being served. Picture a small child, somewhere in ancient Africa, snatched off the ground in broad daylight. We're not guessing. In 1924, an anatomist named Raymond Dart described a fossil skull of an early human child, now called the Tong child. For decades, nobody knew how it died. Then researchers spotted the clue. The damage around the eye sockets matched exactly what a crowned eagle does, a bird that hunts monkeys by punching into the skull and tearing out the eyes to reach the brain. That child wasn't a hunter who got unlucky. That child was prey, carried up into a nest, the same way that eagle takes a monkey today. And it wasn't just the sky. At a site in South Africa called Swartkrans, a fossil skull cap roughly 1.8 million years old has two round holes in it, sitting about 33 millimeters apart. The scientist's CK brain matched them, and they line up perfectly with the two lower canine teeth of a leopard. He even called his book about it, The Hunters or the Hunted. The answer, for most of our story, was the hunted. We were small, slow, soft, and very much on the menu. So here's where it starts to turn, and it doesn't turn with a weapon, it turns with the body. Around 2 million years ago, evolution quietly rebuilt the human frame into something almost no other animal has. The researchers Bramble and Lieberman laid this out in Nature in 2004. We lost our fur, we grew springy tendons and long legs, and we became covered in sweat glands, somewhere between 2 and 4 million of them, more than any other mammal carries. That sounds boring until you see what it's for. Most four-legged animals can only dump heat by panting, and they can't really pant while they're galloping flat out. Their breathing is locked to their stride. We broke that link. We breathe independently of how we run, and we sweat over our whole bare skin. So we can't sprint like a cat, but we can do something no predator on four legs can. We can keep going. We turned into the long-distance, overheating machine of the animal kingdom. Quick question for the comments before we go on. Have you ever genuinely outlasted an animal? A dog, a horse, on a long walk or run? Because that stubborn endurance is the oldest weapon we own. This is where it gets dark and a little eerie. Once we had that body, we invented a way of killing that needs no claws, no fangs, almost no weapon at all. It's called persistence hunting. You don't catch the animal, you follow it. You keep it moving through the heat of the day so it can never stop to cool down, hour after hour, until its own body cooks it from the inside. The prey overheats and simply collapses, sometimes still fully aware, just too hot to stand. And the most chilling part is how calm it is. No ambush, no chase scene. Just a patient figure on the horizon that never, ever stops coming. That is the moment our ancestors stopped being something that runs away and became something you cannot run away from. And once that switch flipped, it didn't just nudge us up a rung. It launched us clean off the chart. In 2015, a biologist named Chris Darrimont and his team published a study in Science. They pulled together over 2,100 separate measurements of how hard predators hunt their prey, and then they dropped humans onto the same scale. We weren't a little higher. We hunt adult prey at up to 14 times the rate of any other predator, and we kill other big carnivores, the lions, the bears, the wolves, at around 9 times their rate. The lions used to eat us. Now we take down the things that eat the things that ate us. The researchers gave our species a name for it, the super predator. So here's a comment I actually want to read.
If you had to name the single trait that turned the prey into the super predator, was it the brain, the sweat, the spear, or just refusing to give up? What's your pick? Drop it below. But here's the part that genuinely got under my skin, because it's happening right now, not a million years ago. In 2017, researchers including Justine Smith and Liana Zanet ran an experiment with wild pumas. They hid speakers near the cat's kills and played two kinds of sound. One was a harmless control, recordings of frogs. The other was simply people talking. The pumas barely reacted to the frogs, but at the sound of a calm human voice, most of them fled their own meal and cut their feeding time roughly in half. Not a gunshot, not a roar, just talking. And it's not one twitchy cat. A larger study by the same group, published in Ecology Letters in 2019, played human voices across whole hillsides. Mountain lions, bobcats, skunks, opossums, every species pulled back, went quiet, hid more, and fed less, just from hearing us. Personally, I think this is the eeriest fact in the whole story. We are so thoroughly the apex now that to the rest of the animal world, the most terrifying sound on Earth isn't a predator's roar. It's the murmur of a human being having a conversation. So if everything fears us now, what happens on the rare day something still hunts us? It turns out it's almost never a healthy animal choosing us as a fair fight. In 1898, in Kenya, two male lions started killing workers building a railway, on and off over about 9 months. They became infamous, the Tsavo man-eaters. But when scientists later examined them, they found the worst of the pair had a severely broken canine tooth with an infection deep in the root. Big, kicking prey would have been agony for it to bite. We weren't its first choice. We were its last resort, the soft option for a hunter that could no longer hunt properly. Even our nightmares about being eaten are mostly the exceptions, the sick, the desperate, the broken. So go back to that walk in the woods at the start, the forest going quiet around you. That silence isn't peace, it's millions of years of memory. You're carrying the body that outwalks anything alive, riding on top of a reputation so total that creatures who have never seen a human still run from the shape and the sound of one. We removed, or simply outlasted, almost every animal that once hunted us. The cave lion, for example, vanished around 13,000 years ago, part of a wider wave of great predators that disappeared around the same time our kind spread across the world. The eyes that used to watch us as food now watch us and look for the exit. We started as the meal. The small, soft thing dragged into the nest, the skull with the leopard's 2 teeth in it. And we ended as the one sound that empties a forest. We traded fangs and claws for a body that never quits and a name that travels ahead of us. We became the predator that doesn't even need to be in the room to be feared. I'll be honest, I went looking for a story about brave hunters and found something stranger. We won by walking and by being remembered. So here's what I really want to know down in the comments. Does this make you feel powerful? Or does it make you a little uneasy about what we did to everything else? Tell me. I'm Nerlin. See you in the next one.